Hey everyone, what's up? In fact, let me hold on for a sec. Let me just straighten that out a bit. There we go. That'd be easy if we got this pillow out of the way. But hey, what's up? Thought I'd come on here and I guess get this out of the way, seeing as though I would probably have time on tomorrow after work, but I figure might as well do it while I got the time. And you know, if anything changes, I'll probably come back up and talk about it. But here I want to give you basically my predictions and thoughts on both NXT Takeover New Orleans and of course Wrestlemania, as well as some other information that's come out. First of all, let's talk about that other information that WWE has released. Now, apparently, over a 4-day period, if I can pull this up, over a 4-day period, WWE plans to WWE plans to use AXXESS to, if I can look it up here for a second. Because I know they put it up here. Here we go. WWE plans to use AXXESS to put on a few matches, put on several matches, if not tournaments, with a lot of intrigue. It's a 4-day deal that they're doing this. So here's what they plan to do. On day one, they plan to have two matches they plan to have two first-round matches in the UK Championship Invitational, the North American Invitational, and the NXT Tag Team Invitational, as well as the NXT Women's Invitational. They plan to have two matches each. Now, what you're going to have here is you're going to have Leo Rush against Buddy Murphy, Dan Mather against Drew Gulak. That's the UK tournament matches. Then you're going to have North American. You're going to have Fabian Nisia versus Jason Kincaid, and Akira Tozawa versus Conan Reeves. And then the NXT Tag Team one is Mustache Mountain versus Tony Sabbatelli and Roderick Moss, and the Street Profits versus Cesar Bonnell and Andrain Judah or something. And then the women's one is Nikki Cross against Aaliyah, Kairi Sane against Bianca Belair. Now, what they do mention here is quite interesting in case you guys haven't been paying attention, which I'm pretty sure you have. Pro Wrestling Unlimited has talked about this. I'm surprised, Deluxe Man, you haven't talked about this yet. Maybe you will, I don't know. But here's what's interesting about this. In addition, the session will feature a WWN Championship match between Keith Lee and Cassius Ohno from NXT, as well as action featuring 205 Live and Mae Young Classic superstars. Then day 2, you're going to have two more first-round matches in the UK tournament. That's which is going to be Lince Dorado, I'm sorry if I pronounce that, against Raul Mendoza, and Mark Andrews against Zach Gibson. And then North American-wise, you're going to have Chris Dijak, Donovan Dijak, against Ari Davari, and then you're going to have Hideo Itami versus Wolfgang. Tag team-wise, you'll have Sanity versus Forgotten Sons, TM61 versus Oni Loke and Daddy Birch, and then the women's, you have Dakota Kai, Lacey Evans, Candice LeRae, Peyton Royce. Now, In addition to that, the session will also include matches featuring superstars from NXT, Mae Young Classic, Progress, and much more. Day 3 will have the first session will include semifinal matches from the UK Championship Invitational, North American Invitational, and Tag Team Invitational, and Women's Invitational. And in addition, same thing. Then you will have the session will include matches featuring superstars from the NXT, the UK Tournament, the Mae Young Classic, and much more. Day 3, you will have the second session will have North American Invitational Finals. In finals for the UK Champion, you have semifinals for the UK Championship Invitational, and an Evolve and an Evolve Tag Team Championship match, as well as other matches and as well involving 205 Live, NXT, Mae Young Classic, so on. Then on the same day, day 3, in the third session, you will get the UK Championship Invitational Finals, the Tag Team Invitational Finals, the Women's Invitational Finals, and a match between Cassius Ohno and Progress's Walter. Progress's Walter against Cassius Ohno. In addition, same thing as before. Then day 4, Sunday morning, here's where it gets interesting. Sunday morning will include the following championship matches. You will have Pete Dunne defending against the UK Invitational winner, the North American champion taking on the North American Invitational winner, being the first title defense ever. You'll have the NXT Tag Team Champions, whoever they will be, against the winners of the NXT Tag Team Invitational. In addition, the session will also feature a WWN Championship match, a Progress Women's Championship match, a Progress Championship match, and a Progress Tag Team Championship match, and much more. So that's one of the big news coming out this week from WWE, is you're going to have these invitational matchups to determine number 1 contenders that will get their title shots on Sunday morning, except for the women's NXT title, which I'm kind of surprised about. But anyway, you will have all this taking place, and many of these championship matches will take place immediately in the morning. So in other words, when this show goes down at the Pepsi Arena in Atlanta, I think that's what it's still called, can you imagine, I mean, not Atlanta, not the Pepsi Arena, but the New Orleans Arena. I'm sorry, I'm thinking about Atlanta last night. Raw being in Atlanta last night. But the New Orleans Arena, can you imagine how whoever these champions, these winners are going to feel, and then all of a sudden you get word, oh, by the way, you got to defend your title the next day at AXXESS. Huh? You know, I don't think they're looking forward to that. But here's what's funny. Evolve is taking place in this. It's being part of this. You know, with a championship match and tag team championship match, as well as Progress. Here's what some people have already said about this. People have said, and this might be true, that WWE is bringing this invitation. It's probably mostly Triple H and maybe William Regal, that are making this happen because maybe they got the approval from Vince McMahon. Maybe they told Vince of what else is happening around the corner, and Vince is like, do what you got to do to make sure people don't attend those events. So what are they doing? They're saying, you know what? Let's get involved, if you will. Let's get Progress involved. Let's get WWN involved. Let's bring these guys under our roof. Let's make our AXXESS a bigger attraction than what Ring of Honor is doing, or anybody else is doing, and then no one will have any. Then no other fans will have any choice but to go to Wrestlemania and see all the action. That initially is how some people are looking at it. The WWE is doing this because of what's going on around the area with Ring of Honor and other promotions. They're saying, you know what? You ain't stealing our thunder? We're going to bring some of the... It's like they're basically saying, hey, you think you're going to steal our thunder? You wrong. We got this. So, yeah, it probably is their answer to counteract Ring of Honor and all these other promotions, because, seriously, you want to lose your audience to Ring of Honor or Shimmer or whoever? No, you want to make sure your audience is there from the beginning. You want to make sure your audience is there from the beginning. Alright. Now, besides that, we also today finally got the reveal of this. I don't know if you can see it very well, but we finally got the reveal of the NXT North American Championship by Triple H on WWE's YouTube and Triple H's Twitter, and WWE's Twitter. But we finally got a look at the North American Championship, and quite honestly, from what I've seen, and this is more of a drawn up version, I don't know if you can see that very well, but from what I've seen, I kind of like it. I like the design. I overall like the design of the belt. It's got an old school kind of like feel to it. It's got an old school like feel with the side plates on the side the way they are, being rounded, and from what the design is, having the NXT logo on top along with the North American underneath and then champion. It's almost got that old school WWE championship or WWF championship that Hulk Hogan once had, except for the difference in the side plates. It's got that old school feel to it, and I like that. I really do, because to me, I think these newer generational fans have to be reminded of where a lot of this comes from, as to why a North American title is being brought in instead of a TV title. And I like the fact that it shows the continents that it's supposed to represent. USA, Canada, Mexico, Puerto Rico. I like that. I really do. So overall, I actually like the design. I like the design. It's very old school, very nostalgic. I know the Slag Daddy would probably appreciate it. So, yeah, I really like the design. I really get a kick out of it. So, props to WWE for giving us a decent-looking championship for NXT as far as secondary titles go. And already I hear people saying that it looks better than anything the main roster has. So, hey, more props to them for just accomplishing that, I guess. Alright, but speaking of NXT, of course we have Takeover coming up this Saturday, the day before WrestleMania in New Orleans at the New Orleans Arena. So basically I have right here the matches as of right now. It's 5 matches. We might get a 6th match added on just to even it out. But here are the matches so far that are advertised. You got an NXT title match, you got a women's title match, you got a tag team title match in Dusty Rhodes Classic Final, you got the North American title, and you got an unsanctioned match. So, how do I think this is going to go? Well, I don't watch NXT that much, but from what I've seen and heard, and especially through Deluxe Man, I think NXT's got a winner here. I really do. So, let's take a look at the unsanctioned match. Johnny Gargano against Tommaso Ciampa. Anybody knows it was an unsanctioned match, storyline wise. Basically, the company is not going to be responsible for whatever happens. Their hands are completely tied. They can't do anything. They're off limits. So how do I think this is going to go? Well, a lot of people like Johnny Gargano. They want to see him succeed. They want to see him become NXT champion. They saw him come so close in that classic against Almas back at Takeover the day before the Rumble. So, to me, I think the most logical sense is you put Johnny Gargano over. You put him over, you let him beat Ciampa, and you put him back on the NXT roster. And excuse me, because the best storybook scenario to me is not only does Johnny get his job back on NXT, but you further that by having him become NXT champion and where you go right there from there if you want to continue with Ciampa and him going at it. Because then you would have a bigger stake in all this, and that's the NXT Championship. So I think the best opportunity for them to do is to put Johnny over Tommaso in this matchup. And do I think this match is going to steal the show? I will say this: it will be a strong contender, not just from match quality, but from story quality. It's going to be a huge contender for Match of the Night for Takeover. Then we get the NXT North American Championship match North American Championship ladder match. We have Adam Cole, EC3, Killian Dane, Lars Sullivan, Ricochet, Velveteen Dream. And a lot of these guys have never really faced each other at all. I mean, they have faced each other. I'm not going to say that, but one-on-one wise, no one has really faced each other one-on-one. You know, I'm sure Killian has faced Adam, so I'm not going to say that. It's going to be. This is kind of a pickle. It's kind of a pickle here because these are basically 6 guys that the NXT brand, the WWE through NXT, has their eyes on. That they consider future main eventers or featured stars on the main roster. So, who goes over here? Who takes that next step to the main roster? Well, to me, I think the logical choice... the logical choice is up in the air. Let's put it that way, because they're all strong, good contenders. EC3, honestly, definitely, you would think you would go with him. Logic says you have to go with him. Ricochet, logic says you have to go with him. Adam Cole, same thing. Velveteen Dream, he's made a lot of progress, if you will. Logic would say go with him. But the question is, do they? Who do they go with? And if I was to pick somebody, I would say they go with EC3. It makes sense. And since you would go with him, it makes sense as far as his character goes and any kind of story you want to go with him with. It makes sense that you go with EC3. But again, this is up in the air. No one really knows. It's a pick'em. So, but my logical choice, if I was booking this match, EC3. Then a triple threat tag team match for the NXT tag team titles, and Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic Trophy. You have the Undisputed Era, Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly. So that means Adam Cole may be wrestling twice unless they get somebody else. Authors of Pain, and Roderick Strong and Pete Dunne. Who goes over here? Well, logic would say that if Adam Cole doesn't walk out with that North American Championship, he's got to walk out as a tag team champion. But if you want a feel-good story, then I go with Roderick Strong and Pete Dunne. Unless you plan to do something with them, if you know what I mean, I go with Roderick Strong and Pete Dunne. So I go with the wild card here. I go with Strong and Dunne to become tag team champions. That's what I do. Because obviously you have plans for Dunne and Strong when it comes to the main roster in the future. Ember Moon, Shayna Baszler, Women's Championship. Oh boy. What do you do with this? Do you let Ember Moon go over and continue to show that no matter how tough Shayna is, she can't beat Ember? Or do you have Shayna finally become champion and essentially just say, hey, we just screwed the women's division? I would say this is a toss-up, but, you know, some people are saying that this could be the opportunity to call up Ember Moon and bring her to the main roster and pretty much put her on reset or push her right off the gate and kind of make up for the lack of push or championship push you have right now for her in NXT. And again, this is a toss-up, but I'm going to go... I mean, again, they could go either way with this because Shayna obviously is ready for the main roster, in my opinion. Especially if, let's say, you want to get her involved in a certain tag team match at Mania. I think she's involved. I think she's ready. So it's kind of up in the air. But if they're planning to finally bring Ember up, then I go with Shayna Baszler. If they're not, I go with Ember. But if they're going to bring Ember up, Shayna Baszler. And here's what they do with Ember Moon if they bring her up. You automatically put her on SmackDown. You put that woman, Ember Moon, at Backlash. If you're going to use Backlash as your backdrop for your next Superstar Shakeup or Draft, you take Ember Moon, you send her to SmackDown, and if you're planning to keep Asuka the champion on SmackDown, here's what you do. You send Ember Moon at Asuka. You send Ember Moon at Asuka, and you do what you were afraid to do on NXT. You have Ember Moon beat Asuka. That's what you do. You bring her up, you have her beat Asuka, and become SmackDown Women's Champion. Yeah, she'll drop the belt back to Asuka so you can set up Asuka and Ronda Rousey to main event WrestleMania 35. But in the meantime, you could have Ember Moon beat Asuka and become SmackDown Women's Champion. If you're planning to put the belt on Shayna Baszler at Takeover, and part of that plan is to bring Ember Moon up, you put Ember Moon on the same brand as Asuka, you send Ember Moon at Asuka, and you do what you were afraid to do in NXT. You have Ember Moon beat Asuka, and you do it at SummerSlam. Done deal. You want to bring her up? If that's the plan, that's the direction you go with. That's where you go. If you're planning to have Ember Moon come up after Takeover. Now, the main event. Possibly the main event. Because they may have Johnny and Ciampa main event, and just to give us a feel-good moment at the end of the show. But anyway, possibly the main event. Andreas Ioannis against Aleister Black. Well, Amos is going to be heading to the main roster, so what do? Do you put Black as the champion? Keep him in NXT? Or do you feel that, hey, he comes up too? You see, that's the question. And here's why. Here's what I think is going to happen. Whoever doesn't win that North American Championship, whoever is the one that gets to that title on top of that ladder but falls off, is taken down, pushed off by the inevitable winner, whoever that may be, that person, out of one of those six right there that doesn't win, the one that probably comes the closest to winning, that one is going to be challenging the NXT champion next. So if they keep it on Amos, here's what I think would happen. If they keep it on Amos, then the person that challenges Amos next would be Ricochet. Because if Black goes to the main roster, Ricochet is your next choice. However, if Aleister Black wins, and Amos goes to the main roster because of this, EC3 is your most logical choice to challenge Black. It makes sense. I hate to say it, but it makes sense. It really does. So it's a toss-up right there in the NXT Championship. It's a toss-up. Do you go with Andreas Ioannis and then maybe set up something with Ricochet if Ricochet don't win the North American title? Or do you put it on Aleister Black and you set something up with EC3 if EC3 doesn't win? To me, it's a toss-up. We'll have to wait and see. It's a 50-50 deal. But those are my thoughts on NXT TakeOver New Orleans and how I think each match will probably be going. Now, Next up, we have the WrestleMania 34 card. First of all, let me address the elephant in the room. The pre-show matches. Now, nobody has any problem with the Battle Royals being on the pre-show, the kickoff. Pretty much we knew that was going to happen. But the one that's really got fans upset, is the Cruiserweight Championship match. Cedric Alexander, Mustafa Ali. That's got people pissed. To the point that now they're petitioning for WWE to put it onto the main card. That may work. It worked last year. It may work again. But I don't know. Unless you petition Snickers and say, "Hey, Snickers, WWE is not playing nice. They set up this Cruiserweight Championship tournament to crown a new champion at WrestleMania, but yet the championship match is not on the main card. It should be. What was the point of having a tournament if you're just going to regulate the finals to the pre-show? Don't make sense. Not fair. Make WWE change." That's probably the best way you're going to get any change happening is petition Snickers. But you know what? Snickers is probably going to look at it like, hey, Fabulous Moolah was one thing. This is another. This is another thing. They'll probably look at it like, hey, these guys are still part of WrestleMania. It may not be the pay-per-view, but they're still wrestling on essentially the same card. You know. They'll probably look at that and say, look, it's one thing to get angry about Fabulous Moolah, but it's another to get angry about this. So you know, who knows? Who knows? Anyway, yeah, a lot of people are not happy about that, so who knows? So we may have to wait and see what they do. But as far as the pre-show matches go, like I said, you got the Battle Royals and Cedric and Mustafa Ali. Again, I don't know about the Battle Royals. Those are kind of up in the air. They may go with some... I don't know who they'll go with, so we'll have to wait and see. But I will say this. Cedric and Mustafa, I will agree with Deluxe Man. They need to tear the house down on that kickoff show and show everybody what the main card was missing. But here's what it doesn't make sense. You want a match that's going to get people off their feet. That match would do it. I don't get it. Anyway. Who do I think's going to win? Alexander or Ali? It's a toss-up. Both are good. Both are phenomenal in the ring. But I think the one they've been positioning a lot lately to be in this scenario, and before the whole situation when Enzo behind the scene, the whole situation when Enzo occurred, was going to probably beat Enzo for the title. I think they're going to follow through on it. I think they're going to go with Cedric Alexander, and Cedric Alexander is going to walk out of WrestleMania Cruiserweight Champion. That's my prediction, and I do agree, Deluxe Man, they will tear the house down on the kickoff show. Guarantee on that. Alright, let's take a look at some of the other matches. Let's take a look at The Miz, Seth Rollins, Finn Balor. As far as the main card goes, this will be a match of the night for the main card. But I'm probably going to go with Finn Balor. I know Seth needs that one more title to be a Grand Slam champion. But I'm going to go with Balor. He needs it right now. He needs it. He needs that championship. And I think it's WWE's way of making up for the botched Universal Championship that run he was supposed to have that he didn't have because of injury. So I'm going with Finn Balor. That's my choice there. They'll have a great match, no doubt. But I'm going with Balor. The U.S. Championship match, a fatal four-way. Orton, Rude, Bobby Roode, Jinder Mahal, and Rusev. Who do I think is going to win this? It's kind of up in the air. I told you Randy would not do a kickoff show deal. So, I think this might be second on the card, maybe first. But I'm going to go Rusev. I am. I'm going to go Rusev. I guarantee, unless Randy plays his political card, Rusev's walking out of WrestleMania a 3-time United States champion. Bank on that. Alexa Bliss, Nia Jax. Story-wise, it's pretty good. I think it's alright, story-wise. And I do agree that this has got to be a squash. You got to squash Alexa. Like Nia said on Raw, you got to have her squash her like a bug. Here's how I see it playing out. Alexa's going to probably try to kiss up to Nia, saying, "Oh, I'm sorry," and all that. Try to shake her hand. Nia's going to make it like, "Oh, okay, I forgive you. We're friends." She's going to shake it. And then as Alexa tries to walk away, she's gonna be like, "You can let go." Nia's not gonna. Basically, after they do that, maybe even hug, Alexa could be like, "Okay, Nia, you can let go," and then maybe you can get a close up of Alexa's face as soon as she realizes, "Oh crap, I just got trapped." And you could either have her get pulled up over by, you could either have Nia take her, pull her, and put it on top of her shoulders and hit her with a Samoan drop and win. Or you can have her hold on to her in that squeeze, in that hug, drop her with a belly to belly, Ellie, and then maybe pick up what's left of her on her shoulders, hit her with the Samoan drop and win that way. That's how I see it playing out. It's obvious they're going to do that. Because if they allow Alexa to go over, what was the point of turning Nia babyface if you're going to have the person that has been insulting her and using her go over at Mania? Doesn't make sense. But then again, WWE doesn't make sense at all at times. Charlotte Flair and Asuka. This, to me, as far as the women are concerned, is going to be match of the freaking night. No doubt. Match of the freaking night. And this right here is a testing ground, in my opinion, a testing ground to see how people will react to what essentially is a main event match, as far as WrestleMania is concerned. A main event caliber match between Charlotte Flair and Asuka. And I'm going to go with Asuka going over in this in essentially basically a classic. She's going to go over in essentially a classic match here. And what I see happening as far as Carmella goes, I could see Carmella trying to cash in, but I think she's going to end up going the Baron Corbin route. She's going to fail. Because look, I understand if she cashes in on a weak Asuka, rolls her up 1, 2, 3, whatever, gets the win, becomes champion. Okay, I can understand that to get super heat on her, because then she can brag and say, "Yep, I beat Asuka all by myself. I just pushed it down like that. It was so easy." I could see that getting super heat on her because it's going to get annoying. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think Carmella's going to try to cash in, but she's going to go bankrupt. That's what I see happening. But I do agree, there's a possibility she could also get drafted over to Raw and cash in on Alexa and not on the Nia or whoever the Raw Women's Champion is before the next Money in the Bank. But I see Asuka going over here. Carmella, that's the wild card you got to look out for. But I don't think if it comes to Asuka, she's going to try to cash in on. She's going to go bankrupt. Alright, the Raw Tag Team titles, Cesaro and Sheamus, the Bar against Braun Strowman and a partner of his choosing. I think his partner is going to be... I'm going to go Lashley. It's got to be someone you wouldn't expect. So, how do I see this playing out? I see Strowman and his partner, whoever it is, becoming the champions. I do. I just see it. I just do. And then, speaking of tag team titles, we have a triple threat tag team championship match. New Day against the Usos, against the Belgian brothers. I think they're going to go with the Belgian brothers. I mean, it's too obvious that that's the direction they're pushing towards. The story's pretty much cementing the fact that Harper and Rowan are basically almost unbeatable in a sense. They basically just walk through anybody they face. So I'm going with the I'm going with the Belgian brothers to walk out with the SmackDown tag team titles. Next match, Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey against Triple H and Stephanie. Obviously, it was set up this past Monday that Stephanie's going to get her comeuppance at Mania. I think it's going to be an entertaining match. And the moment we know Stephanie's going to get her comeuppance, she's basically going to get the crap beat out of her, is maybe when Ronda's down or something like that, Stephanie gets in the ring and just acts all cocky, going like, "Yep, see what I did? I'm so great, I'm so great, I'm so great." And then all of a sudden Ronda's going to stand up slowly, and then Stephanie's going to back right into her. And then that's when the reality's going to sit on her, sit on Stephanie like, "Oh crap, I'm in trouble." She'll probably try to chop her, and it's going to have no effect. And Steph's going to be like, "Let's talk about this," and then arm broken. I just feel that's what, it may not go that way, but I feel that's what they're going to go with. That's my thought process. So, but I do predict Kurt Angle, Ronda Rousey going over. And this may be, my opinion, the last time Stephanie and Triple H act as heels, because I think what's going to happen if they do this correctly is they're going to turn them into tweeners. And what I mean by tweeners, in other words, they're basically going to be like, they'll still be heelish, but they'll realize, hey, we're not going to mess with certain people that could probably kick our ass. Excuse my language, God. And speaking of tag team matches, we have Daniel Bryan, Shane McMahon against Owens and Zayn. If Zayn and Owens wins, they'll be back on SmackDown. This is kind of interesting because it's got a good story behind it. The crowd's going to go crazy for Daniel when he gets in that ring and starts performing. In this match. I don't know what direction they're going to go with, because, a lot of people are saying that Zayn and Owens are going to be back on Raw before this year's out. So if that's the case, the most logical sense would be to have them put over Daniel and Shane, because you don't want Daniel to lose in his first match back. Fans will piss all over that, even if it is Owens and Zayn that beats them. So I think, honestly, Daniel and Shane are going to win. I've got a feeling it's going to be a crazy match. It's going to be basically, I think what's going to happen is Shane's going to probably try to make it into a street fight tag match. That's what I feel. So yeah, I think Daniel and Shane are going to go over in this matchup. And don't be surprised if Shane decides to add a street fight stipulation to it. And then we get to the championship matches. AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura. If their match at Wrestle Kingdom was any indication from what people have said, then this match is going to be match of the freaking night, along with Charlotte and Asuka in the triple threat Intercontinental Championship match. This is going to be match of the night along with them. These guys are going to tear the house down, I believe, unless they get limited. What WWE needs to do is just let them run loose, just like they were allowed to in Wrestle Kingdom, and show what they can really do, because they obviously know each other very well from their days in Japan. Let them do what they got to, and I guarantee you that they are going to blow your minds with their match. People are going to be talking about this almost for days if they do this right. Who do I think goes over? Well, I've met AJ before, and that was about 12 years ago, and he's a cool guy. But I think they're going to go with Shinsuke. They're going to have to go with Shinsuke because they're building him up. And if you're building him up to this point, I think the best solution is to go with him. So I think Shinsuke Nakamura is going to go over AJ Styles in this match. If they have AJ go over, that's great too. But someone might get criticized for that if they do. No offense, AJ, if you're watching. And then, of course, the closeout match, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship. I think, honestly, it's a foregone conclusion Roman's going to win. How good the match might be is going to be a surprise because a lot of people praised the last match against each other. So it's up in the air. I would assume that maybe they're going to go... Here's what I think is going to happen. they're gonna have a physical match. They're gonna have very physical. The match is gonna be full of a lot of physicality. How long it goes, I would say maybe 15, 20 minutes if they do it correctly. They pace it right. And I think at the 20-minute mark, Roman's going to win. I really do. Will they do an angle with Brock and Heyman leaving since Brock lost? He says, hey, I'm not going to be here anymore. And follow him out and I don't know. But here's what's crazy about this. WWE wants the fans to get behind Roman. And it looks like in certain areas, certain towns they go to, it's working. But we're talking WrestleMania here. We're talking hardcore wrestling fans. We're talking unmerciful hardcore wrestling fans. The kind of fans that will also be attending Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor. The same fans that will be attending Shimmer. The same fans that will be going crazy for the Evolve and Progress action that AXXESS is going to have. And the other promotions around town. So, honestly, it may have worked so far in a sense, 50-50 kind of deal. But I don't think it's going to succeed here. I don't. You can have Brock salute the crowd like he did before or at WrestleMania 20. It ain't going to work. They'll be like, oh, thank you. I mean, this crowd, I got a feeling it's going to be like, oh, thank you, Brock. We appreciate that. And boo, Roman sucks. And go, Brock. That's how it's going to be. So, but yeah, I think Roman's going to go over. He's going to win. I'd be surprised if Brock goes over, because if he does, then that means he was able to work out a new contract. If that's the only way, that would be the only reasoning for Brock going over, is if he worked out a new contract deal. The only reasoning. So yeah, that's probably how Brock would go over. But I think Roman's going to win, just like anybody else does. But I will say this, I don't think it's going to take one Superman punch and one spear, does it? I think what we got on Raw is an example of how it's going to happen. You're going to get 5, maybe 6 Superman punches and maybe 2 or 3 spears to finish off Brock. That's what I feel. Now, as far as John Cena and The Undertaker go, it's going to happen. It's going to be impromptu. It's going to be spontaneous. The reason they're doing it this way is so that when the match or the confrontation, fight, whatever takes place at Mania, it feels more legit. It feels more real, more realistic, more shoot-like. That's why they're doing it this way. So yeah, expect it to happen. And if it becomes a match, expect Taker to go over. Because you can't have John keep calling out Taker without obviously setting up the fact that he's going to beat John Cena in the match. Or beat the hell out of him in an impromptu fight. Either way, Taker goes over. That's a bit about it. And are we going to get Deadman Taker or Badass Taker? I think we're going to get American Badass, because if you're making it, like I said, as legit as possible, if you're making it as legit, as realistic as possible, then I think obviously we're going to get Badass Taker. I really do. Because you're going to get the American Badass Taker that was more real. That was not Deadman Taker. That was more, hey, I'm just like you, just like everybody else kind of guy. So, but yeah, I think either way, fight breaks out, match happens, Taker goes over. No doubt. Because you can't just bring him back to do this and not have him go over. So that's just my opinion on that. But overall, those are my predictions and preview for WrestleMania, for NXT Takeover New Orleans and WrestleMania 34, as well as my thoughts on the North American Championship, fans petitioning for the Cruiserweight Championship match to be put on the main card, as well as the wrestling, as well as WWE having these invitational tournaments and these WWN Evolve Progress matches and events as well during AXXESS. So let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like. I'd like to hear from you. And I'll talk to you all later.